The knock Lyco. She was one of those pretty young ladies born as if through an error of destiny into a family of clerics. She had no dowry, no hopes, no means of becoming known, loved, and married by a man either rich or distinguished, and she allowed herself to marry a petty clerk in the office of the Board of Education. She was simple, but she was unhappy. She suffered insensibly, insensibly, feeling herself born for all delicious and luxuries. She suffered from the poverty of her apartment, the shabby walls, and the worn chairs. All these things tortured and angered her. When she seated herself for dinner opposite her husband, who uncovered the turkey tureen with delighted air, saying, "Oh, the good Potby, I know nothing better than that." She would think of elegant dinners of shining silver. She thought of the exquisite food served in marvelous dishes. She had neither fox nor jewels, nothing, and she loved only those things. She had a rich friend, a schoolmate at the convent. Please subscribe and like and share. All friends support me. Who she did not like to visit. She suffered so much when she returned. She wept for whole days from despair and disappointment. One evening her husband returned elated, bearing in his hand a large envelope. "Here," he said, "here is something for you." She gave out a printed card on which were inscribed these words: "The Minister of Public Instruction and Madame George Riffonen asked the honor of NME Company Monday evening, jogging January 18, at the minister's residence. Instead of being delighted as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation spitefully upon the table, murmuring, "What do you suppose I want with that? But my desire, I thought." it would make you happy. You never go out, and this is an occasion and a fine one. Everybody wishes one, and it is very select. Not many are given to employees. You will see the whole officially world there. She looked at him with an irritated eye and declared impens- impotently, impatiently, what do you suppose I have to wear to such a thing as that? He had not thought of that. He stammered, why, the dress you wear when we go to the thea- theater. It seems very pretty to me. He was silent, stiffened in dismay at the sight of his wife bathed, weeping. He stammered, what is the matter? What is the matter? By a violent effort. She had controlled his vexation and responded in a calm voice, wiping her moist, moist cheeks. Only I have known some colleague whose wife is better fitted out than I. He was grieved, but answered, let us see, Matilda, Matilda, how much would a suitable costume cost? Something that would serve for other occasions, something very simple. She reflected for some seconds, thinking of a sum that she could ask for without bringing with it an immediate refusal and a threatened explanation exclamation from the economically club. Finally, she said in a hesitating voice, I cannot tell exactly, but it seems to me that 400 francs out ought to cover it. He turned a little pale, for he had saved just this sum to buy a gun that he might be able to join some hunting parties the next summer with some friends who went to shoot lark on Sunday. Nevertheless, he answered, very well, I will give you 400 francs, but try to have a pretty dress and get the day of the ball approaches, and Ma'am Loisel seemed, said disturbed Alexei. Nevertheless, her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her one evening, what is the matter with you? You have acted strangely for 2 or 3 days. And she responded, I am vexed. not to have a jewel. Well, nothing to adorn myself. I shall have such a poverty. Please subscribe and share now. I shall have such a poverty stricken look. I would prefer not to go to this party. He replied, you can wear some natural flowers. In this season, they look very cheap, chic. She was not convinced. No, she replied, there is nothing more humiliating than to have a shabby air in the midst of rich women. Then her husband cried out, how stupid we are. Go and find your friend man Frostier and ask her to lend you her jewels. She uttered a cry of joy. It is true, she said. I had not thought of that. The next day, she took herself to her friend's house and related her story of distress. Mammy Frostier went to her closest, took out a large jewel case, brought it, opened it, and said, choose, my dear. She saw at first some bracelet, then a collar of pearls, then a Venetian cross of gold and jewels of admirable workmanship. She tired. She tried the jewels before the glass, hesitated, but could neither decide to take them nor leave them. Then she asked, have you nothing more? Why? Why, yes. Look for yourself. I do not, I do not know what will please you. Suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hand trembled as she took it out. She placed it about her throat against her dress, and she and was ecstatic. Then she was good information, but I think that agitated voice, full of anxiety, could you lend me this? Only this? Why? Yes, certainly. She fell upon the neck of her friends, her with passion, then went away with her treasure. The day of the ball arrived. Ma'am Louisel was a great success. She was the prettiest of all, elegant, gracious, smiling, and full of joy. All the men noticed her, asked her name, and wanted to be presented. She danced with enthusiasm, into, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing but all this admiration, this victory so complete and sweet to her heart. She went Home towards 4 o'clock in the morning, her husband had been half asleep in one of the little salons since midnight with three other gentlemen whose wives were enjoying themselves were very much. He threw around her shoulders the modest stripes they had carried, whose poverty clashed with the elegance of the ball costume. To away in order not to be noticed by the other women who were wrapping themselves in rich furs. Lucian detained her. Wait, said he. I am going to call a cab. But she would not listen and descended the steps rapidly. When they were in the street, they found no carriage and they began to seek for one. Hailing the coachman whom they saw at a distance, they walked along toward the river, hopeless and shivering. Finally, they found one of those old carriages that once seized in Paris after nightfall. It took them as far as their door and they went wearily up to their apartment. It was all over for her, and, and on his part, he remembered that he would have to be at the office by 10 o'clock. She removed she removed the wraps from her shoulders before the glass for a final view of herself in her glory. Suddenly she uttered a cry. Her necklace was not around her neck. Luciel, already half under undressed, asked, "What is the matter?" She turned towards him excitedly. I no longer have Ma'am Frostier's necklace. This is a very interesting and so very so let I think bye good evening for everyone and I don't but wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Please forward, subscribe, like and share.